Appreciate it. Tiffany, let me play for you a bite from last night. This was Amy Klobuchar, who's sort of running in the more moderate lane among the Democrats right now. She did a town hall, and the fact that she was willing to say no to so many of these policies a lot of Democrats are saying yes to in itself was news. Here's part of that exchange.
He did ask you yes or no. Would you support free college for all?
I am not for free four-year college for all. No. Thank you.
So let me ask you this, because
and I wish if I was a magic genie and could give that to everyone and we could afford it, I would.
So is this a good strategy right now for a Democrat this early in the race, right? A lot of them are saying, hey, I believe in this idea of the Green New Deal. I believe in Medicare for all. I believe all college kids should have their college paid for them. She's doing the opposite.
I think this whole idea of moderates versus progressives is something that we talk about and we push as members of the media. I don't know when you get out there in the field and talk to people outside of the Beltway and you explain to people what these policies are. I mean, 82% of Americans support Medicare for all, and that includes 52% of Republicans. I don't know if that's, when you take away the superficial labels, there are people who support these policies.
In a one-on-one, would that win? Do you think a Democrat can win if they embrace Medicare for all in 2020?
I think so, and it's funny because when you look at the primary, sometimes the things that hurt people in the primary, it helps them in the general. But I think, again, when you take away the labels of moderates and progressives and you just talk to people and say, here's what I stand for, here are the policies, a lot of people will agree with you. I mean, we assume that there's, people who wake up every morning reading the op-ed pages and reading the Times and the Journal. That's not necessarily true. People want to know, how are you going to impact my life and make it better? When candidates do that and walk away from the labels and just explain the policies, there are a lot of people who support these policies. When you look at the way the primaries are set up, though, I think in Iowa and New Hampshire, those are the first two primaries. They don't necessarily reflect the country. There, moderates can win. When you look at California and Texas, I think you're going to have to double down to get out your base and be more outspoken about whatever progressive policies there are.
Rick, when we talk about these labels, it's because the guy who's in the Oval Office right now, the President of the United States, has effectively labeled a lot of these Democratic opponents as they come along. Is this what Republicans want to see happening on the Democratic side right now? Who has the advantage right at this moment?
Well, the president said in his State of the Union address, which I don't think was not unwise, is that he wants to run against socialism. And that's the way he's framed it. And now the Democratic Party, it's interesting because part of the reason I think that Hillary Clinton didn't do as well as she should have done is because she actually is a policy wonk. She actually understands policy. And Bernie Sanders, who ran against, throws out these policies that are just, they're not realistic.
Yeah, but something more aspirational may...
They don't add up, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, Amy Klobuchar, we ran against ethanol, Ted Cruz in Iowa, and we won Iowa. And she is now saying against the progressive left that, no, it's unrealistic that everybody just can get their college paid for, and Medicare for all is somehow not going to have a consequence, which will be higher taxes. And of course the Republicans would love to run against.
As you know, you worked on the 2016 campaign for Ted Cruz, who routinely sort of labeled Barack Obama a socialist. This was one of the rhetorical points. You were in that campaign. Do those folks believe that, or is that just something that they're trying to brand it to motivate their supporters?
Branding has worked historically. I mean, remember when Michael Dukakis, the George...
Do they think President Obama was a socialist?
Do they think he was a socialist? I think they probably did think he was a socialist, but I don't know. See, then you get into all these definitions of what is socialism and what is... But we know that capitalism works, except we don't have anybody on our side that actually defends capitalism. Yeah. This product doesn't work without Wall Street, right? Neither does Amazon, neither does Google, neither do the companies that are going to replace Amazon, Google, and Apple. Right. Those works because people invest money for a return, and they create great companies that make great products.
Steve, there are a lot of people who are waiting to find out whether Joe Biden is going to add his voice to this chorus right now. A couple of months ago, it seemed like he had a heavy advantage going in, but now all of a sudden his name ID picks up for some of these others. Is Joe Biden missing his window on this if he keeps waiting?
I don't think so, because, look, he does sort of loom over the field with his name recognition, with his stature, with that sort of thing. I think he does have some more time here, but it's a heck of a dilemma for him. I'm not surprised he's taking his time. We've seen him By the way, we've seen him sort of walk up to the starting line in some of these races in the past and wait and wait and wait and then not run. He did that in 2016. He did that back in 2004. So also not the first time that's been a possibility as well. But if you're Biden, look, there's the possibility. It's right there in front of you. You've wanted to be president. You've had all these moments in the past when you thought you might get there and it didn't work out. Now, be 78 in 2020. He could actually get there. But look at the stature he's attained in the last couple of years, really kind of by sitting out the 2016 campaign, by not taking all of the heat from the Republicans and from Trump, by not getting scrutinized by the media, by sort of watching Hillary Clinton lose and then becoming this sort of great what might have been figure to Democrats. That's the stature he has right now. If you get in this race and it doesn't work out, if you aren't the right guy for the times on the Democratic side or even in a general election against Trump, how much of that stature do you lose? Does this end up hurting you in more ways than you? So I think that's part of what's going into his delay game here.
Tiffany, you're nodding your head. Democrats want someone who's going to win. What is your thought right now?
Well, I think to Steve's point that Joe Biden, this is going to be the first time that he's going to have to account for some of the things that he's done. I mean, we all remember Anita Hill. There's a whole new group of people in the party now who want some accountability.
Is he 2020's Hillary Clinton of 2016?
I don't think so. I think that might be a bit of a stretch and a false equivalency there. But I do think that he's going to have to answer some of the for some of the legislative things that he's done. But I'll tell you this, Peter. I think if Biden does get in, South Carolina all of a sudden looks very differently because he's got deep roots in South Carolina, and this is the first Southern primary state with a sizable share of African-American voters. I mean, African-Americans do still have, this Obama nostalgia. You've got Kamala Harris in the race, Cory Booker, who can easily split that vote. Biden has been going to South Carolina for years, and with the way the primaries are set up, this can make the slate of candidates look very different.
Look, I think the Democratic strategy is actually fairly simple. Overwhelmingly, they want to beat Trump, right? Trump has chosen to run on the wall, which is splitting his own party and unifying the party against him. That's where the Democrats want to be. What they want to do is solidify their party and continue to split the Republican Party. And if they think that anybody can beat Trump, I think they're going to go too far to the left, and they will risk a second term of Donald Trump. If they can find someone who can hold their base together and take the middle and some Republicans, they'll easily win.
But the thing is, they're all running against each other. They're not running against Trump right now. So when you talk about winning the primary...
I think the voters are going to look at this and say, what is your strategy? And they're sophisticated now. They've been watching MSNBC for going on, 20, 30 years, right? Then they're going to say, what is your strategy to beat Trump? Because if you don't have one, then move off the stage. Let's talk to somebody else.
The blessing is we get to keep having this conversation for a while. Tiffany, nice to see you in person. Rick, as always, thank you very much. Steve Kornacki, I thank you as well in New York. And now...